Now this illustration deals without supporting devices, luminaires or lamp holders, in accordance with NEC 314.23E. Now, notice the box is not supported. It is supported by the wiring method. And our wiring method is a raceway that has supports within 3 foot of the box. And as long as the box does not contain a fixture, any kind of device of any type, then notice the enclosure, there's 100 cubic inch or less in size without devices. We have threaded hubs or a threaded enclosure in the box. And then notice we're complying with 314.16A1 for sizing, 314.23E for the support rule, and we're not going to support except with the conduit. And then notice the threaded hubs, or the threaded portion of the enclosure, is 314.23E. Now, moving up to the figure loop, then we instruct you or recommend that you, when you're sizing these boxes, see figures 12-1A and B. And the square box, octagon box, device boxes will be sized in accordance with that section 314.16A, really the boxes would be sized, I don't want to misquote it here, would be 314.16B as in boy, 1 through B5. And then notice the size of those service conductors, you'd have to determine, is it a dwelling unit or a commercial building? And if it's a commercial building, you look at 230.42A1. But if you were dealing with residential properties, then you know it would refer you to another section to do the standard calculation or the optional calculation to size your service. Now we'll get into that in volume 2 and show how that's done, just so you know. Now, the concept of saying, well, you know, the contractor tells me what to do or the foreman tells me what to do. I've been an electrician a long time. I've designed for a long time. And I'll tell you, those folks that are electricians that know the code, he or she, when the bodies have to go, they remain because they know what they're doing. Know what you're doing. And I'm not saying you have to use our material to be knowledgeable, but get material that you're satisfied with, that you can learn to do your job more efficient and also have a great amount of knowledge in doing so. Now notice that service equipment is installed by 230.70A through C. And it's either one main, as you see in that equipment, or you could have 2 to 6 individual mains by 230.71 and 230.72. Means you could have 2 to 6 and 230.71, but they'd have to be grouped by 230.72. So that would be the grouping of those. And then, of course, you have some certain rules that are brand new that as an electrician you want to be familiar with. 230.71 B1 through B4, and that deals with the 2 to 6 disconnect rule. And notice in a panel board now, 408.36, as well as the new rules in 230.71 B1 through B4, a panel board cannot have 6 individual mains as in the past. You have to have an inline main protecting the overcurrent devices below. Now, when we get into, if you review our service chapter 6, you'll find all those rules right there. So be knowledgeable. Know the NEC and how it applies. And sometimes we'll find electricians in dwelling units, they just go in and it's just a routine thing every day, but they do not know the code and what the code requires. They do not know that they go to Article 590 to start with in the NEC. And that's a little short article. Man, you can read that just one setting. It's not that much reading there, but there's a lot of knowledge to be obtained there. So this illustration, though, is just illustrating to the electrician, mainly. Because remember, Chapter 3 in the code is the electrician's chapter. It's the installation chapter. It's what we electricians would call it. Chapter 2 is what the designing engineers call their chapter. And they use Chapter 2 to start with. Contractors do. You as an electrician do if you're extending maybe some outlets, adding outlets onto a branch circuit, maybe adding some load to a feeder, and you have the authority by the local authority or county or state to do that. You need to know the code without having to go to the a contractor or maybe an engineer to learn that. You need to know that. Be knowledgeable in what you're doing. So this just illustrates where you wouldn't have to have supporting means for the box as long as you're not supporting devices such as luminaires, lamp-holders, and things of that nature. It's just some of those items that would be considered here. But this is NEC 314.23 is an ed where the box can be supported by the conduit without individually supporting the box.